On Target News and the Tullahoma News present the City of Tullahoma Political Forum.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Here now is your host, Lucky Knott.
Political Forum, and those listening on the radio on 93.9 The Duck, and also watching on Light to Cable. We appreciate everyone coming to the event tonight. We have some very important questions to ask out of our candidates. Tonight we will start with the mayoral candidates for the city of Tullahoma. I just did one for Manchester, so sorry. All right, we're going to run through the rules, and we'll do that, and then we'll begin with our questions. All right, each candidate will have 3 to 4 minutes for an opening statement. You'll have up to 2 minutes to answer a question. If another candidate mentions you by name, you'll have 1 minute to respond. No hurtful words or comments towards any other candidate are allowed. Please be respectful. Keep in mind tonight's forum is being broadcast. If I deem things are crossing the line, you will receive a warning for that. A second time, you'll be asked to leave the forum. Please show honor and dignity to the office you seek. Remember, this should be informative about your vision for the city of Tullahoma. Now, for the audience, the questions that were gathered tonight are questions by me and me alone. These questions, I had ideas from the Tullahoma News that they provided, and I've rearranged some of those wordings on that. No one has seen these questions, not any of the management of the radio station, only me. So if there's a problem with the questions, it's on me. So please, from the audience, no loud outburst showing favor to one candidate or another. You'll have time at the end to give your appreciation for these 3 gentlemen that are running tonight. The same rules apply to each candidate if it becomes a problem, so we don't want anything to get out of hand. That this is done at each forum that I've ever done, and I mentioned this to one of the candidates. This is number 66 for me. So I've been around the block a few times handling political forums. When we finish with the question and answer session, each candidate will have up to 1 minute for a closing statement. So we will begin tonight, and we will begin with Lynn Sebring, who's going to answer our first question tonight, and then the same question with Mr. Glick and Mr. Pisanos. We appreciate all of them being here tonight. Also, we should also thank them for putting their name out there and running for public office. That is a difficult task. It's a hard thing to do and put your family through. I've done it myself, and I understand. I'm a guy that lost by 40 votes, and I'm a guy that lost by 2 votes. So I understand how this thing goes. So it is not a easy thing to do. So I appreciate all of these gentlemen tonight that have put their names out there to run because of their care for our city. All right, first question. Very simple question to begin the ceremony tonight. Lynn, what made you want to run for Tullahoma mayor?
Now, is this our opening statement?
Well, I did the same thing at Manchester. I did exactly the same thing. I cannot believe I did that again. Same exact problem. Okay. Your opening statement, sir.
You're excited about your questions. I get that. And so hopefully I'll answer that in my opening statement. But I am Lynn Sebring. I'm excited to be here this evening, and I'm excited for this opportunity to be your next mayor. I know some folks may not know me, so I'll tell a little bit about myself, even though I don't like doing that very much. But I first moved to Tullahoma 34 years ago in 1990 to attend school out at UTSI, married a local girl, and you see where I ended up. I've been blessed to raise my 3 children with my late wife, Teresa, in Tullahoma, and we've always felt that Tullahoma is a special place. I've worked 32 years as an aerospace engineer, mostly at AEDC, and it's been my privilege to be involved in civic leadership in Tullahoma for over 17 years now. I served several years on the Tullahoma Planning Commission, and then 15 years ago I helped create the Tullahoma Area Economic Development Corporation, and I've been the chair of that board for 14 years. We started that board in the middle of the Great Recession and worked to help our businesses rebuild through that hard time, and we've had good success Now we have a thriving retail sector, and that helps support our school system and our city infrastructure. In addition, I've served as one of your county commissioners for the last 6 years. I've been on the budget committee for the county all 6 years, and I've been the chairman of the budget committee for the last 2 years. But that's enough about me. There's been a lot of discussion about change and growth in our city over the last few years, and I want to tell you that I'm an optimist, and I believe that whatever challenges our city may face, we can solve those together. And I believe that because I've seen what really makes Tullahoma great, and that's you, the people of Tullahoma. I believe Tullahoma embodies the volunteer spirit. Our city's full of talented people who devote their time to helping others. You just see it everywhere. You run youth sports programs in baseball, softball, basketball, football, soccer, even golf and bowling. You support multiple service organizations that are all active. We have groups devoted to seniors and those who need assistance, and we have outstanding programs for art and theater, both in our schools and our community, and this is what makes Tullahoma a great place to live. But if we want to keep great talent in our community, we need to provide opportunities for our graduates. We value our education in Tullahoma, and I believe we want to see our graduates be able to build a life here. That requires two things: good job opportunities and housing they can afford. Housing is a challenge everywhere in Middle Tennessee right now because of the growth that's coming to Middle Tennessee. But I believe we can work to locate the housing we need while respecting the rights of the existing property owners. And finally, I want to say a few words about civility and respect. Many of you have expressed to me disappointment and frustration with some of the conduct in our city board meetings. And in today's social media world, the conduct of our board is seen as a reflection of our entire city. Our BMA meetings should be focused on doing the business of the people in a professional and orderly manner, and that's how I will conduct business. As mayor, I'll show civility and respect to everyone and focus on getting the work to benefit you and your family. I thank you for your attention. I look forward to the rest of the forum.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Glick.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Kurt Glick, and I've lived in Tullahoma most of my life, and I'm lucky enough to have lived here with my wife, Carla, and I'm also lucky to have my almost entire family living here. My mother, Joyce, and her husband, my dad, Sheldon, and my sister, Kim, and her husband, Mike. So for the last 38 years of that time, I've served the city of Tullahoma. For 36 years, I worked as an employee and a department head, and the last 2 years I've served as an alderman. During that time, I've worked with 6 city administrators, 7 mayors, countless aldermen. I've served them all, but mostly I've served the people of Tullahoma, and I listen to the people of Tullahoma. And that's why I know what the main priorities, what the people of Tullahoma want. And that is what I've based my priorities on, and that is to manage the growth of our city and to preserve the Tullahoma we love. And that's not to stifle growth, that's to manage it and run it in the proper direction that we all could be happy with. Also, we need to upgrade our aging infrastructure, especially our roads. They become in deplorable condition in some cases, and as alderman, I introduced a plan to help start down the road of repairing our roads, and we're going to further that as we move forward. And then lastly, we need to ensure fiscal responsibility because we do not want to increase the tax burden on our citizens. I think we're taxed enough as it is. So with working on those 3 things and with the leadership I've learned and what I've learned about the city from working with the city so long and with the people of Tullahoma, I think I could help lead this community into a successful future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Pisanos.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Petros. I came in Tullahoma in 1988. I'm not a politician, so I cannot talk like these 2 gentlemen. I am a working class. I've always been working. Elections are not about the candidates or who is going to win. It is about the people. It is up to you, the voters, to choose the right person to lead this town for the next 4 years. The city of Tullahoma is doing well. It is growing, and hopefully it will continue to grow. A lot of things have been accomplished by this administration as well as the previous ones. However, I believe that there are certain things that can be improved. It is extremely important to repair and strengthen the foundation of this city as we expand. I have been involved in the politics of this city since 1988. The issue of homeless people needs to be addressed, and a solution is imminent. Successful business people pay their taxes, but those who can afford, and we have plenty, should contribute more for this cause. I have contributed in many ways as a business owner in this town. I never denied a person, a homeless person, or a family a free lunch or a dinner at my restaurant. Countless times people walk in my restaurant and they ask for food, for money, for gas money, and other things. I'm always willing to help people. I am not here just to get elected and be mayor of Tullahoma. I'm running for mayor because I believe I can change things around. Tullahoma is going through a period that is very embarrassing for this city. Things need to be changed. Voters should judge the candidates depending on what they have contributed, not on the promises they make about the future. I set challenges, I give my all, and I get at the top of the mountain, always. If you choose to elect me, I will prove to you, I am very confident, that I will deliver to you, to the people of Tullahoma. I will make things happen, and no more embarrassing meetings. Some people make promises they cannot keep just to get elected. I make only one promise. Whatever goals I set out to accomplish for you, the people of Tullahoma, I will accomplish them. The income of the city keeps growing, but it's never enough. I will strengthen the foundation of this city. If you have a house, you need to make sure the foundation of the house is strong enough to support a second floor. Otherwise, it will collapse. I see a foundation in this city that needs to be stronger as more business and people are coming in. The roads need improvement. People serve at the city hall, they talk about it, but no results. Vandalism
30 seconds.
is on the rise, crime is on the rise, drugs are on the rise. We cannot continue to throw every problem under the rug and hide it and ignore it. When people complain about different issues, I will hear them. There is plenty of money in this town for as long as the people's voices are heard and the money is used and distributed properly. I will serve you with honesty and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we will start with our questions. We'll start in the middle this time. We'll go with Mr. Glick to answer our first question. And we're going to kind of reword what I said earlier a little bit because some of the things that you said already said that. So we'll say this. What is the reason, one reason, that came to your mind and you said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run for mayor of Tullahoma. What hit you that said, it's time?
I want to run for mayor of Tullahoma because I think I could do things to improve Tullahoma, and that is really the main reason why anybody should want to run for mayor. I think that I have learned things over the years with working for the city for as long as I have and serving as an alderman, and then with all the people that I've known in Tullahoma for living here all my life. I think I know what the people want, and I talk to the people. I am just a average Joe person out there, so I kind of know what they want, and I think that I could represent that well and bring Tullahoma into the future.
All right, Mr. Pisinos, you will be next to answer that question. What is that one main reason that you decided it was time for you to step into the political realm of Tullahoma and say, I'm going to run for mayor?
Because I work at the restaurant since 1988 in this town, I was able to talk to many mayors and aldermen and other politicians in this town. I have seen how they've done things. Many things I didn't approve. I think a lot of money are wasted, mishandled, without accusing anybody. I think the money can be more wisely spent. I believe I am the right person to bring discipline in the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and also to distribute the money that come in Tullahoma more productive.
Mr. Seaver.
So for several years, I mentioned I've been on the county commission, and one of the things we did at the county commission is we put together a strategic planning committee, which I chaired. One of the things I learned when I was as the economic board chair is that communities that succeed are communities that take action. And so we have worked hard on that board to learn what needs to be done. And a lot of that involves working relationships with other organizations outside the city, with the state economic board, with the federal government. And so I've been doing things like that for 10 or 15 years now. I'm active in Arnold Community Council. We go to Washington every year. We go to the Pentagon. We go to our congressional representatives. And it just became very clear to me that one of the things you just have to have is cooperation to get things done. And then on top of that, we've got opportunities right now that we may not see again for another 20, 30 years. There's a very large amount of money coming into ADC. The state's building a large industrial complex in our city, and I have experience helping put things like that together, and I just thought it was the time to do this, to get involved and try to move our city forward, and I'd appreciate your vote.
All right, Mr. Pisinos, we will start with you with this question. This has been briefly mentioned by each one of you already. Plans. Now, we talk about plans for growth, and we can throw that word out there, growth, and we know what that means. But there's positive and there's negatives to that. We want to talk about the positives of growth in Tullahoma and what you would like to see in your term as mayor of Tullahoma. What are some positive growth things that you would like to see?
I support the growth of Tullahoma. People coming in Tullahoma and new business and new developments. At the same time, as I mentioned in my opening statement, it is extremely important to have a better foundation in the city, the streets and many other things in Tullahoma, to make sure that we can sustain and support the new business and the new people coming in Tullahoma.
Lynn, we'll go to you with this one, then Mr. Glick.
Could you repeat that question?
Okay.
Just make sure I got it.
For the growth of Tullahoma, we talk about a lot of times where people want to talk about, we need to grow, we need to grow. And so there has to be a positive, and then sometimes there's got to be negatives to growth. So that's what I'm looking for, is positive growth. How do you see that working out?
Yeah, so the growth of the city of Tullahoma is, everybody's talking about it right now because it feels like it's growing, right? You look around, you see all this traffic on Jackson Street. If you look at the population, we're not actually growing as fast as you think. We've been growing about 1% a year, a little under 1% a year for a very long time, and that's continued this last year. But what's happening is the communities around us are growing faster. And so we're getting all their traffic. That's great because they're coming in our town and shopping. So some of the positives that we need to see is we do need to improve our infrastructure. We need to improve our roads. But to do that, we're going to have revenues through tax revenues to do that. And there's two choices in Tullahoma, which is tax revenues from sales tax, which we're doing okay on, but we could do more, and in property tax. And the only way to increase your property tax without raising the rates on you guys is to have some development in the county or in the city. One of the things that happens, I'm going to mention real quickly, we do have higher tax rates in Coffee County. One of the reasons is because AEDC doesn't pay property tax. And so our county tax rate is higher, and then everybody in here pays county property taxes even as a city. And so one of the positive things we need to look for is we need to look for some property development to help support our property taxes, and then we'll be able to afford our schools and our roads and the infrastructure that we need.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Glick?
I'll make it all.
Okay, it should be fine.
Okay, I'll make it unanimous that I am also for growth in Tullahoma. But as the other candidates, I am for a managed growth. I think we need to make sure that we grow in a positive direction and that we're protecting the Tullahoma we love. We don't want to grow into something that we are not and something that we don't want to be. So I think that's important that that growth is planned, and that's why, as an alderman, I proposed the Community Plan Development Committee. That's a group of citizens that are working on our long-range comprehensive plan, and I sit on that committee. We've been meeting for almost 2 years now and have had open meetings, open public meetings to develop this plan for once a week, for sometimes twice a week. So hours have been spent of public meetings to develop this plan. The plan for our growth is the people's plan. It is made for the community, by the community, and that's why we are going in that direction.
All right, we'll continue a little bit on that pattern that we've kind of briefed on with the other questions. Lynn, we'll start with you. Talk about growth in the city, and I hear sometimes, that North Jackson, the main thoroughfare through town, is really crowded. And we see more and more people coming to town and spending money, which is always a positive. But some people are complaining that the road is very narrow through town because, it was built a long time ago, and of course we didn't expect that when all that was done. So is there anything when it comes to this, because I want to make this clear to the public. This is my main reason why for asking this question, so the public understands about North Jackson Street as we know it. We see Wilson Avenue and the expansion there, and we know that that is a state, that's a state-run thing. They're doing that work. So what about North Jackson and expanding North Jackson? Is that even possible for the city to do?
First of all, I think that's a state highway as well, so I don't think the city can do that on our own. Let me say a couple of words about the city and the traffic. One of the issues we have in Tullahoma is the way we are kind of constrained more than the average city. We can't go towards Moore County because they're a metropolitan. We're kind of bound by the railroad and the hills to the west. We're bound by AEDC on the southeast, and so there's only so many places we can put things like that. There has been discussion of widening Cedar Lane. I think that would help. But that is one of our challenges we're going to have to really work on. The other issue with Jackson Street is serving on the Economic Board. We're always trying to get retail to go somewhere besides Jackson Street. We would love to open out and get 55 towards Tullahoma having some of our retail. The retailers want to be on Jackson Street because that's where the traffic is, and retail loves the traffic. So I apologize that we haven't found the solution to that yet, but it really has. And there's room to spread up and down further north and south on Jackson, which I suspect is what the retailers will want to do. But I would like to find a way that we could push some retail onto other locations, and if we can widen Cedar Lane, I think that's a project that's already on the books. And even make better use of Atlantic Street. That's one of the things you see in smaller towns that are kind of locked in a lane like this, is they start trying to find parallel paths. I've seen it succeed in other cities.
Mr. Glick.
Yes, that is a state route. It would be difficult for us to grow it, and the way it's developed along there, I think the widening of it would be very difficult. But the Cedar Lane widening is a thing that is in the works and is planned to do that at some point. And also I think widening or upgrading, I don't know how much wider we could actually make it, but upgrading Atlantic Street and making a nice shoulder on it, that would take some traffic off of Jackson Street, and it would also open up another corridor for retail development along Atlantic Street. So I think it would be twofold an advantage of taking traffic off Jackson and opening another retail corridor.
Mr. Pisnos, I know this will hit you because of your business being on North Jackson. So your comment on this.
Yes, I have business in North Jackson Street, and a few years ago, the previous city administrator hired 2 companies from out of town to make a study about Tullahoma. Both studies came out with Tullahoma looks old and tired. I never understood why we had to pay money for somebody to tell us what is obvious. North Jackson Street has a lot of junk everywhere, not only North Jackson, everywhere. Tullahoma needs cleaning, painting. We need to get prettier. So, as far as North Jackson, a lot can be done for as long as people are willing to. Thank you.
It's kind of amazing that you mentioned this because that's leading right to my next question. So I'm going to let you have it first since you brought it up. My next question is about sprucing up the town, making it look more attractive. We have a good-looking city. There's beautiful places in town, but there's other places that maybe need improving. So what can the city do, and what can you do as mayor to help that area? Because there are certain areas, like you say, that do have some problems, and other areas that are very beautiful. So we kind of bring it up to scale, even the playing field. What would be a plan?
Over the years, I was able to purchase several properties on North Jackson Street and South Jackson Street and behind Walgreens and Spring Creek Road. And I have been targeted personally from the city codes and city administrators, not the current city administrator. And it cost me a lot of money and headaches. But if every citizen of Tullahoma relies on himself and how to fix his house and how to fix his yard, how to paint his house, we don't have to rely 100% on the city to do things for us. So in my opinion, people should be more responsible for their own property, their own yard, and their own house to make the city more attractive.
Okay. Mr. Zewert.
Yeah, that is another hard question. We've talked about this question a lot on the economic board. What can we do to make the town look nicer? And every dollar we would spend doing that would be a dollar we couldn't put in the sidewalks that people want and improve the roads. And so it becomes a money challenge as much as anything if you really want to go up and down Jackson and clean it up. And the other thing is trying to encourage the tenants up and down Jackson Street to do that. And of course, the challenge you get into there is, businesses are, especially when we first started our board, we're struggling, and then you're going to tax on extra cost to them to clean their place up. But there probably is a place for codes enforcement to clean up the worst offenders, and I think actually some of that has been done the last few years here and there. And I'm not sitting here claiming we want to go out and harass our business owners and property owners about that. But in the case where it's really blightful, then the city can take that on. But I think until we solve some of our bigger problems, it'll be hard to justify spending a lot of money, like just rebuilding Jackson Street or something just for appearances.
Okay. Mr. Glick.
Yes, the beautification efforts, that is a hard problem to talk about, and we've talked about that a lot in the Community Plan Development Committee about how to do that without stifling too much development, because while you want to enforce codes and have strict codes on how things look to have an attractive town, you can't be so strict as to preclude more development that you might get. So it's kind of a tough issue there, but I do think the city could step up a little bit on some codes enforcement issues. I think they've worked on hiring another codes enforcement official to go out and look at things that are grossly inadequate. Other things I think that the city could do is just maybe start a marketing effort and start programs that will make people want to get involved and want to make their businesses better, want to do it themselves, because there's only so much the government can do, and we don't want the government getting involved in the people's business.
Thank you. All right, the next question is one that I know people have been concerned about and have talked about in the community. The mayor is the chairman of the board of mayor and alderman during the meetings. Some meetings have been very controversial at times. There have been things that have been very heated at times. As a mayor, how would you plan to diffuse a situation to keep a discussion going in a positive direction and staying on task of what the issue is that you are talking about at that current time? Mr. Sieber.
So I think this is a fairly straightforward answer, but it may not be completely possible. I mean, at the end of the day, the mayor can't control another person's decisions, how they choose to behave. However, Robert's Rules provides for a way to conduct meetings, maybe we need to have some meetings, a way to conduct meetings to minimize that sort of thing. And I think there's two rules that need to be enforced more evenly in the city board meetings. And the number one is nobody should be interrupting anyone. Robert's Rules of Orders provides for every single member of the board to have their opportunity to speak, and everyone will get to have their say, and everybody has the same vote. And number two, no personal comments. If those two rules were enforced, 90% of the problems on the board would go away. But it would also require aldermen who are willing to abide by those rules. And so I would ask the public to let the aldermen know, and the mayor, if I'm elected, you can let me know the same thing, that that behavior is not acceptable, and we can't get what we need done for the city done with that. And if someone feels like they have some personal comment they need to say, they're free to do that the moment they step out of the boardroom. There's not a media site in this city, a newspaper, anybody who won't take a statement from an alderman complaining about whatever issue that is they want to complain about. So nobody's free speech is going to be stifled, but let's obey the rules.
Kurt?
Yes, I think the mayor needs to take a hand with the gavel to keep the meeting in order and to keep things running with Robert's Rules of Order. That's why the Robert's Rules were adopted by the board, because it keeps an orderly meeting running. It's designed for that. So it would take the chair in charge to be able to do that. And as Mr. Seaborn said, it will take willing aldermen, but the Robert's Rules does provide for ways to deal with anybody that doesn't want to follow the rules. So I think you'd have to take a hand in that. And I think that a lively debate within the rules is a good thing to go on, but it should be a professional debate and following the rules. So as I said, the chair it's his job to keep that meeting in order.
Right. Mr. Prisnos, your opinion about this?
The answer to this question is very simple. With one word: discipline. The mayor should use all his powers to put discipline in the meetings, and at the same time should talk with all the aldermen and explain to them how we need to have a good image out there for us as a city and those who are watching us, and explain to them, well, if they are misbehaving, you treat them like children, and you explain to them and convince them what is the good thing to do for the people of Tullahoma, for the name of the Tullahoma. That's my answer.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. All right, next will be a question that is a little different for Tullahoma than it is just down the road in Manchester. We do have a city administrator in town, and Mr. Quick. So the mayor's role is a little bit different here than it might be in other places that don't have a city administrator. So what role do you believe the mayor should have in the general day-to-day operations of the city government. Mr. Glick, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, as you said, the city of Tullahoma has a city administrator form of government and a weak mayor. So all the decisions of the board for the city administrator carry out are made by the board of mayor and aldermen at meetings, and that sets the guidelines. Where the mayor would come in would be to be the person on point to work with the city administrator, ensure that these directives and the plan put down by the board of mayor and aldermen is enforced and is run properly and in the board's wishes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Prisonos.
I think I have seen many city administrators in this town the last 36 years. This is the first time with the current city administrator that I have confidence, and I think he's a very capable and he's good for the city. Of course, I have some suggestions, but I have great confidence on the current city administrator.
Thank you. Mr. Seaborg.
So I think the mayor's job in general is one of representing the entire city, and I think that applies to working with staff of the city. I think it's very important that the board of mayor and aldermen, and the mayor in particular, should have trust and confidence in the staff. I have found working at the county commission, I've worked very closely with the budget director, and I just find that everything runs better when you let the budget director do her job and the budget board does their job. Our job is to make decisions about how to spend the money, and the budget director's job is to make sure all that gets carried out. I don't think we need to come in and micromanage the staff. I think we need to be working with the staff. I do think the mayor plays a role in that hopefully if the mayor's a trusted individual, that if there are issues in the city, that staff can feel free to come talk to the mayor about those sort of things. But I don't think it's my job or any other mayor's job to get in between the city administrator and the staff. I think our job is to try to keep things running smoothly and cooperate and let the staff do their job.
All right, gentlemen, this next question could stir up a few thoughts, so we want to make sure that we stay on task with the correct question that I'm going to ask here. I did the same question at the City of Manchester's forum. Social media has been something that has exploded all across. You see it for news services, just like On Target News. That's what I do. So we put the information out there. It's not only on our website, but it's also on social media. So social media can be one thing for a positive thing for city government, for businesses, for whatever it might be. But it can also turn to a negative side at times. Some cities, some counties have rules in place about individuals that serve for the city, not only board members, but also employees. Should there be rules put in place about conduct on social media when it comes to being in the mayor's seat in the job that you're out there campaigning for? Should there be rules set about social media? And it being the biggest question is that always comes up, is it on your time? Are you always mayor? Or are you a private citizen when you go home? Is it proper to make those comments that maybe somebody doesn't like, or what, they take it the wrong way, or maybe, they think that you've crossed the line in some way? So I'm trying to make this as easy for you as I can to say something here about social media, because I've worked for one place in particular that said, let's all stay off social media. And in the position that I had to be on social media. That was part of the job. So it basically came down to I was the only one that was on social media, which made it really hard to do that. So as I said, social media can be good, and the city, has people in place to make statements on the city's Facebook page, Twitter, whatever it might be, to get information out. That's one thing. But when it comes to making personal comments. I would like to know your feelings on social media, because it is a part of our life now. We'll go with Mr. Peacenose.
Social media is out of control. Everybody has an opinion. They are not respectful. The more I try to be polite. People say we have freedom of speech and we should say anything we want, but it's out of control. Most opposition I have, or maybe all the opposition I have in this city, is because of defensive comments I have made in the past 36 years. I do it when people accuse me or put lies out on media, and I get very defensive and I lose my manners. I think to the as much power as we get from the Constitution, we should limit the free speech by insulting each other. We only give a bad image of our city if we attack each other.
Let's see, how did I go the last time? We'll go, Liam, we'll go with you.
Can you clarify, you're talking about the elected official and their use of social media?
Elected officials, and also how you would control things with people that work for the city and
okay,
setting rules for board members and all that. Do you think that there should be a plan for that?
So I'm a believer in the First Amendment's free speech. And the reason for that is because I don't think we can have the debates that we need to have if people aren't free to express themselves. And I'm especially a believer that when you're on your own time, it's your right to say what you'd like to say. With that said, I believe freedom of speech also comes with responsibility. And so if I say something that's irresponsible, then it's going to be up to me to bear the consequences of that. And I think any leader has to pay attention to how they communicate, not just on social media, but in person, on the phone, on TV. A leader has to always be aware of how they're communicating. As far as the city employees, I'm sure there's a policy now on social media use during work. I can't believe that there's not. Every workplace has those now. And it's the same thing, right? If I start saying something that's completely out of control, then I think that can become a discipline issue, but not because of the fact that they spoke, but because of the content of the speech. I work in the defense industry, and there's a lot of discussion every year in our training about what social media, should you even be on social media because of security issues. And so I think we need to be careful, but I wouldn't just propose making some kind of blanket ban on social media. I just think people should be responsible, especially those in leadership, when they use it.
Thank you. Mr. Glick.
Yeah, I'm not a big social media person myself. I don't really get on social media and comment. When I'm not running for office, I maybe post a picture of my dog or something, but that's about it. And I kind of wish more people would be like that, but I wouldn't want to abridge anyone's First Amendment right that would have let them put anything on social media that they wanted to. Especially elected officials, that's what their job is, to get out there and speak their mind. Even though a lot of times things they say are deplorable, that's what comes along with the right to have free speech. So as far as employees, yes, there is a social media policy in the city of Tullahoma, and that mainly applies to when they're at work or talking about work or talking about the city of Tullahoma. Other than that, their First Amendment rights are upheld as well, as far as being able to say what they want to. You should, and I think just as a matter of course, I think for elected officials, people that are social media violators, they have to answer to the people at the polls. And if the people would not vote for people that are social media violators and say things that they don't like, that's ultimately the way it's handled, is by the people.
Thank you, sir. All right, I am down to my last question, so you can breathe a little easier now. See, I told you it wouldn't be too bad. All right, since announcing your candidacy, and this is important because each of you are out there campaigning, and you're doing this every day, asking people for their vote. So since announcing your candidacy, what are some of the issues that the citizens of Tullahoma have brought to your attention that they think that really need to be addressed? Now, we've hit a wide range of things during our discussion tonight. But is there anything in particular that people have hit on more than another issue? And Mr. Glick, I will start with you.
I think overwhelmingly everybody that I've talked to is two main issues, and they kind of coincide with each other. And one is concerns about growth, and the other is condition of our roads. And the comment that I hear most often is why we wanting to grow the town bigger when we can't even take care of the roads that we have now. And so that's why my plan focuses on those two key issues: having managed growth, planned growth that we can fiscally handle without raising taxes, and taking care of our city streets and getting that done. And let's make the town look better. Let's make the roads nicer. Let's make it a smoother ride home for everybody.
All right. Mr. Pisnos.
There are many problems in the city of Tullahoma. I got to be careful what I say because I don't want to expose the people who asked me, they told me certain issues and they asked me what I would do. But I want to tell you a little story, if I may. Back in 1998, I bought some apartments on West Monroe Street. Nobody wanted them because it was a bad neighborhood, let me put it that way. And I bought them. I contacted the police department. At the time they had a K-9 unit, and every few days they would come at the apartments and they would get in the apartments and find, if they find something, I would just evict the people. They also used to drop cars, and some other people would come and pick them up. They were full of drugs. Eventually, it took me a couple of years. And there was an old car wash next to the apartments, and a bunch of people used to play loud music, and some old Cadillacs, drug dealing, drug using, and am I allowed to say prostitution? I said it. So I went there one day, and I apologize for taking too much time. So I went there, walking my dog one day, and I said, who's in charge over here? And some skinny guy said, I'm in charge over here. I said, well, we live in the apartments and some other tenants, and the music is always loud, and certain things are happening here. And he said, when you buy the place, you tell me what to do. I said, okay. So I left from there. I called Joe. I said, find out who owns that place. He called me back in 5 minutes. The following morning, 9 o'clock, I bought the place. And then I went over there, and I said to the guy, I got out of the car, and he said, didn't I tell you to come back here when you own the place? I said, well, I just bought it a few minutes ago. Get the hell out of here. So that's a true story. Anyways, and as soon as I bought it, I shut it down because there was no other way to control the situation. Eventually, I bought other properties around the neighborhood. I cleaned the neighborhood. So answering your question, everybody can do something for the city. There was a park also on West Monroe Street. They used to deal drugs. I went to the police chief and the assistant, and I told them about it. And the answer I got was, what do you want us to do? If we kick them out of there, they go somewhere else, so what's the point? So there are many things we can do in the city, and this is just one example. I did my part, and I will continue to.
Mr. Seaborn.
So I've heard about four issues walking around knocking doors. I've knocked a couple hundred doors now, I think, and the number one issue I hear above all the others is the behavior of the city board, the current city board. And I know that's hard to hear, but that's what I hear everywhere I go. The second thing I hear is the growth and then the infrastructure. And I've also heard some concern about the homeless and just, general safety issues, which is similar to what Mr. Pizzanos was just discussing. And, that's a very hard problem. And I've certainly noticed an uptick in that the last few years, but I think that's one of those things you just have to, again, work through enforcement and work with people that help homeless people and see what we can do about that problem. But it is more than it used to be a few years ago, and I've heard that issue as well. But those are the four main things I've heard.
Mr. Pizzanos, he mentioned you by name. Do you have anything to say when it comes to the homeless?
Well, I mentioned that in my opening statement, that there is a problem in our town, and I think it's growing as far as the homeless. And I suggested that it's a problem for everybody because it gives a bad image in this town. And if we don't control it, find the solution, it will continue to grow. So we have to look, in my opinion, instead of raising taxes, we need to look into the money that we're already spending, and I believe some money are wasted or mishandled. We can find ways to save some money from the budget, and also ask people who can afford, business people, to help out.
All right. Mr. Glick, your opinion about the meeting with the candidates, or meeting with the public, and what some of the things that they have brought to your attention that really you're a little concerned about.
I started on this, but I can speak on it again if you want me to.
Oh, okay. My bad. It's been a long time. I guess what I would like to follow up on this is we hear with each candidate tonight about a lot of different things that you see in the city that are positive, and I've heard some things that are negative when it comes to, cleaning up the town and doing these certain things. Let me ask you this: are there certain areas that, or certain things, we'll say that people are bringing to your attention? Because me as a news person, I want to follow up on this. Me as a news person, we hear all the time, well, there's drugs going on, there's drugs going on in this place, and the police can only do so much at times because they got to be there, they got to see it, they got to know what's really going on. It's not really their fault if they're not there, because people are kind of really sneaky about these type of things. But that seems to be one complaint that you hear is boy, we got a drug problem in this area, we got a drug problem in that area. Can we, does it mean that we have to hire more police officers to control that type of situation? Because if there is a problem and they're maxed out, the police is maxed out on what they can do and being able to work their normal job, is there something that can be done with that? And is there a future plan for growing police, fire protection, anything inside the city that you see that would be a positive move for us to do?
As an alderman or serving on the board, I've heard of drug problems in general. I haven't heard of specific instances or specific places. I've heard of more of an in general thing, and as Mr. Seaborn was saying earlier, I would think that this is something that the staff and the professional people that we hire, we have a great, highly rated chief of police that we recently hired, and I know he has a really good team. And I would, as the mayor or even a board member, I would take their advice on what kind of staff we needed to handle, what kind of staff we needed to hire to be able to take that under control. And and look at that. They're the professionals that work with it every day. They know the job. I could take them complaints from the citizens and let them know what I've heard, and it would be their job to come up with a plan, and then we as a city board would find a way to fund what they need to do to address the plan.
Okay. That's kind of where I want to go with this, is working with the current chief of police. I know him very well, and his assistant, and police get stressed sometimes, believe it or not. They go through a lot out here in the community that goes on, and they see a lot of bad things that happen, and there's a lot of things that happen that are a little beyond their control sometimes, believe it or not. People think that they can stop and do whatever, but there are things that they have to be privy to know these situations. Mr. Pistos, I was going to you with this question, so you go right ahead and with your answer to this.
I'm 62 years old, and I've never done any drugs. And I told my kids one of these days I wanted to take me to one of these legal states so I can smoke marijuana. I just want to smoke one cigarette. But back in 1997, the city of Tullahoma invited an FBI agent from Washington, D.C. He came in Tullahoma, and he did, for 1 month, a study around Tullahoma. And he gave his report at the city hall, and I was present. The reason I was present is because the police department took a young boy, put an old suit on him, and a hat, and a beard, and they sent him to my restaurant to set us up for a beer for serving minors. So anyway, we were very busy. The waitress comes in the kitchen and says, "Can you serve a beer to the table?" I took one beer, I took it to the table. It was a setup. So I had to go to court and to the city hall. So that day I was in the city hall. That's when the FBI agent gave his report to the city mayor in Alderman. And he said, 1997, we have a serious problem in this town with gangs, and drugs. And he specified the areas of Tullahoma that we had the problem. So I don't know why some people look like this is a new thing in Tullahoma. It's been going on for years. Nobody wanted to address it because for whatever reasons, they don't want to put themselves in danger. They want to allow people to do whatever they want. But the story is we have had this problem for many, many years.
Okay. Mr. Seaborn.
So yeah, these kind of problems are just always present, and the best you can hope for usually is to just try to keep them controlled as best you can. And I think the law enforcement here does an excellent job of that. I'd like to point out that the law enforcement in Tullahoma is not just reliant on just themselves, but the other law services around them. I've got an excellent working relationship with Sheriff Parton, and Sheriff Parton, the entire Sheriff's Department works very well with the city departments. And there's a lot of these kind of issues that are worse over on the Manchester side of the county, not because of anything wrong with Manchester, but by fact of the interstate being there. And unfortunately, Coffee County is somewhat a center for human trafficking because there's an intersection north-south on 55 and east-west on the interstate, and it's just one of the places. And so every once in a while the sheriff gets involved with the FBI and they have a big roundup. But we have really good relationship with them, and I just think that in terms of when people start seeing something that's new, like for example the homelessness, if they need to speak up, let us know. And I'm confident that our law enforcement officers will cooperate to try to get those problems under control if we ask them to. As far as the growth in that, the sheriff was explaining to us last year that he is seeing some of that as we've seen growth coming into the county from overflow in Rutherford County. Nashville grew, and then Nashville started overflowing into Rutherford County. Well, some of the crime came along with that, and the organized crime. And now Rutherford County is spilling over into Coffee County out in the Beech Grove area. And again, some of that crime is starting to come our way. And so that's one of the disadvantages of growth, is that we may see more of that sort of thing. And if we do, then we need to give our police officers the resources they need, because that's the first and fundamental duty of the government, is to protect the citizens from that sort of thing.
All right. I will say this by saying this about that question. This is a personal thing for me. When it comes to my job and doing what I do, I just want to say thank you to the City of Tullahoma for the communication that is now being done. Mr. Sons has been really, really good to communicate with. It has been an issue, I will not lie. It had been an issue in the past, and I think they are doing a great job with communicating and telling me what's going on, and I certainly appreciate the communication level of that. Police departments are stressed throughout the community, throughout our communities in this area, but they are stressed throughout the country, and let's support them in any way we can, and be smart how we control the growth in town, and know, like you said, and all of you said, that drugs can be a problem, and I'll say it as well, prostitution can come into an area. It can, and drug trafficking and sex trafficking is a problem in this area. It's been known before. It's been a news story before, and I know that the police departments are doing really all they can, because you can only afford to do so much when it comes to hiring enough officers. Well, I mean, we could hire 150 officers, and then is that enough? Who knows? But I will say that as a personal note to all this, that I commend Mr. Sons and his staff, Mr. Kennedy and all of them, what they're able to do currently with the job they have, and I commend them for that. All right, so in a closing statement, Mr. Seaborn, we're going to start with you. We started with you, so we're going to let you have your closing 1-minute statement.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the sponsors of this event, the Tullahoma News, On Target News, 93.9 The Duck, and the radio stations, and the Tullahoma City Schools, because they've had to come make this open for us. And I want to thank you as the citizens, whether you're here in person or out online or watching this later on YouTube, for listening to this discussion. I think it's important as citizens for you to be involved in your city government, and I hope this evening was helpful to you. If you want to learn more about my campaign, you can check out my website, seburnformayor.com. I want you to know, finally, that my goal as mayor is to help make Tullahoma the kind of place that you're proud to live and it makes you feel at home. Now, that's a tall order, because everybody wants different things, right? So if we ask the question, what makes Tullahoma great, we get a lot of different answers. Some people would say it's the athletics here and athletic heritage, and I just have to say I can't believe I've gotten to personally attend 2 state championship games, successful state championship games in the last few years. To some people, it's the arts and theater in Tullahoma. I'm involved in that. To some people, it's the technical work at AEDC and the surrounding engineering community, and to other people, perhaps it's the lakes and the waterfalls and the natural beauty, and for some of us, maybe it's all the above. But no matter who you are or what your dreams are, I think it's important that your government provides the basic services you need and builds on new opportunities for the future while treating you with dignity and respect. And that's why the slogan on my sign says, "A future for everyone." Thank you, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Mr. Glick?
One thing that's kind of confused a lot of times is that people think the Board of Mayor and Aldermen are city employees, or they work for the city. Well, they don't. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the mayor are representatives of the people. They represent the people to the city. So with that in mind, I believe that I'm uniquely qualified to represent the people as the mayor of Tullahoma. I'm an alderman now. I was a city employee, but first and foremost, I am a Tullahoman. This experience will help me to guide the city, to help guide the city along the path to a great future. The people should control the government, not the other way around. And as your mayor, I will make sure that all people's rights are upheld and that the people control the government. Thank you.
Let him say that one more time, Glenn.
And I'd like to ask for your vote for mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Glick. Mr. P. your time to wrap it up. Microphone, please.
Even though I was born in a different country, at the farm, I was always a working boy. I'm still a farming boy. I am part of this town for the last 36 years. Even though I bought some properties, I still feel like a working man and one of you people of Tullahoma. If you choose to elect me at the position of mayor of Tullahoma, I make only one promise. My door will always be open. I will hear every person that comes to me, and I will take your concerns at the meetings, and I will fight for you. A lot of people are cautious to come in front of the board of mayor and aldermen, they are concerned for retaliation from other people, their employer, their supervisor, their co-workers, and the attack from other people on the media. This will be no more. Everyone will have a voice to raise their concerns with me. My promise is a contract with you people of Tullahoma. You come in front of me, I will take your concerns at the meetings. I can only speak for myself on this last issue. Whatever salary the city of Tullahoma pays the mayor, I will triple it with my own money and give it all to the people of Tullahoma. I will contribute in many more ways, but this is just the first thing on my agenda before opening the door of my office to every person with his concerns. And after all you heard, the choice is clear. Vote for me.
Thanks, sir. All right. The audience has been awesome. Thank you for being respectful to these candidates, for putting their name out there. We thank you all again for doing this. It's not an easy thing to do, as you know, and we wish them success in any way that they continue on in their service to this town, because I believe that whoever wins, the other two will continue to help the city of Tullahoma. And I think that's the most important thing I've heard here tonight, that they all three care really about this town. So thank you for being here. Now we're going to take a commercial break on the radio, and we'll get the automatic candidates up here, and each candidate, if you would, meet with me before taking your seat, and then that way I know how we're arranging things. But thank you all so much. Lynn, I'm sorry I didn't get you out in time, but we appreciate all of them. Thank y'all so much. This is the Political Forum from 93.9 The Duck, Tullahoma News, and also on Light Tube Cable. Thank you.
Locally owned and operated. WDUC Lynchburg, Tullahoma, Shelbyville. This is 93.9 The Duck, a Bowman broadcasting station.
Are you craving something deliciously satisfying to eat right now? Look no further than Chick-fil-A right here in Tullahoma at 1708 North Jackson Street. We're the proud home of the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Come in today and taste the difference. Bite into our hand-breaded Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich made with a tender, juicy chicken breast, served in a toasted bun with 2 pickles. It's a taste that started it all. Whether you're swinging by for a quick bite or bringing the family, your hometown Tullahoma Chick-fil-A has you covered.
Tennessee has lots of buried pipelines, so it's important to know the signs of a leak, like if you smell unusual odors or hear hissing, ew, see bubbling earth or water, or dead or dying vegetation. Some signs are even harder to miss, like dirt being blown into the air, a frost ball in an open field, or a flame coming from the ground. If you see any of these signs, don't wait. Leave the area immediately and call 911 or your pipeline company. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Welcome to Beechcraft Heritage Museum, where aviation history takes flight. Nestled in the heart of Tullahoma, this one-of-a-kind museum invites you to explore the rich legacy of the Beechcraft Air Corporation. Get up close and personal to 38 meticulously restored aircraft, alongside aviation artifacts and memorabilia that tell the story of Beechcraft's aviation history. More information can be found at beechcrafthm.org. Plan your visit today and experience the magic of flight at the Beechcraft Heritage Museum. Adventure awaits.
Before you hook up the boat and head to the lake to fish, it's a great idea to file a float plan. What I mean by that is to be sure and tell a friend or family member where you're headed and about what time to expect you back. That way, if you run into bad weather, a breakdown, or your cell phone battery dies, they'll have a good idea of where to come looking for you. I'm Don King for your Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, wishing everyone a safe boating season.
Hi, I'm Jaime with EC Design and Print. What is EC Design and Print? We are a team of problem solvers and storytellers. Our goal is to offer creative solutions that bring big ideas to life. From their first inkling to the final product, we always take the time to make sure that your project wows. From logo design, business cards, signage, apparel, promotional items, and so much more. Got a project or idea in mind? Come see us at 509 North Jackson Street in Tullahoma or online at ecdesignandprint.com. EC Design and Print, your local one-stop print shop.
United Way of Highway 55 serves the counties of Coffee, Moore, and Warren by increasing access to health, basic essentials, income, and education. We allocate funds every year to many local nonprofits and partner with businesses, churches, organizations, and individuals to meet the needs of our community. We also have a free and confidential hotline that provides local resources called 211. Simply dial 211 for a real person and they will help. For more info, go to highway55unitedway.org or call 931-455-5678.
When you're in a bind on the road, trust Rollins & Sons Towing and Automotive, your reliable partner for emergency roadside services in Tullahoma. Located at 202 Mitchell Boulevard, we're just a call away at 461-5181. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff is ready to assist you promptly. Whether it's a tow, a jump start, or a tire change, we've got you covered. Rest easy knowing we're fully licensed and insured. Rollins & Sons Towing and Automotive. Call us today at 931-461-5181.
Do you need an extra push to help get the word out about your new business? Or do you have an existing business that you would like to expand and grow? The Tullahoma Area Chamber of Commerce is here to help through monthly networking opportunities, marketing pushes, job listings, and more. The Tullahoma Chamber strives to push your business to success. For more information on how the Tullahoma Chamber can help you, visit tullahoma.org or call us at 931-455-5497. The Tullahoma Area Chamber of Commerce, making Tullahoma a desirable place to live, work, and visit since 1921.
This is the City of Tullahoma Political Forum presented by On Target News and the Tullahoma News.
All right. If you would go ahead and take your seat, we're about ready to begin with the automatic candidates. And we're going to thank all of them and thank all of the candidates that have come tonight, because I have done forums many, many times where we miss some of the candidates, and I appreciate everyone coming tonight. Thank you so much for doing that. On the far end, we have Matthew Byrd, Franklin Kamek, Bush Toma, John Santana, and Sproni McGee. So thank y'all for coming. We appreciate it. All right, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the mayor candidates and read off the rules just in case someone came in late and did not hear that. Let me stress this at the beginning. This was always announced from the very beginning, going back at least a month, that this would be a political forum. This was never meant to be against the public in asking questions in an open forum like this. This was never meant to be that. It is not a slap in the face of the public, but because of issues that have come up in past political forums that I have been a part of, been a moderator of, we chose not to go down that line because sometimes it can become attack mode. Some people are very polite with their questions, and then some people can be very hateful, hurtful, and make comments that are not appropriate. So always, if you look online, it has always been called a political forum. And I apologize to folks that maybe wanted to ask questions tonight, but tonight that is my job. If you have questions after the forum that you would like to ask candidates, I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to answer any question that you might have that might concern them as a citizen of Tullahoma. So each candidate will have 3 to 4 minutes for their opening statement. You'll have 2 minutes to answer each question that I have. If another candidate mentions you by name, you'll have up to 1 minute to respond. You do not have to respond, but there is that chance for you to do that. There will be no hurtful words or comments towards any other candidate. We will not allow that. Be respectful. Keep in mind that tonight's forum is being broadcast on 93.9 The Duck and Light Tube Cable. If I deem you are crossing over a line, you will receive a warning. A second time, we will have to ask you to leave the forum. That goes for the public as well. We do not want any outbursts that would disrupt what we are trying to accomplish here, and that is to inform the public about each candidate. Please show honor and dignity to the office you seek. Remember, this should be an informative political forum about your vision for the city of Tullahoma. For the audience, again, please have no loud outbursts showing favor to one candidate or another. The same rules apply. For you as candidates, please don't allow this to be a problem. When we do finish with the question and answer session and our opening statements and our closing statements, the closing statement will happen as soon as I wrap up with the questions this evening. Now, with the alderman and more candidates, it will take just a little bit longer to get through this, but I appreciate your patience with this. All right, we will begin, and we'll just start on the end, and then we'll come all the way back around, and then we'll kind of reverse order and mix up the order as we go, so that not everyone is having to go first or go last. So the opening statement, Mr. Berg, if you would, go ahead and give us your statement, and you have the time up to 4 minutes. Okay. Can we trade mics? We've got a problem with one of the mics. Okay, it should be on. If you'll just hand it over to me.
Check. There we go.
There we go.
Thank you. If you don't know my name, I'm Matthew Bird, running for Alderman. Appreciate this opportunity to be able to come and speak openly. A little bit about myself. I was born at Harton, graduated from this high school, but in the gymnasium because they were repairing the auditorium at the time. I've lived here most of my life after that. My wife and I were fortunate. We actually were able to have our wedding ceremony inside of South Jackson Civic Center, and I've got a son at Bel Air Elementary. Most of my career has been centered around the precision machining industry, working for Cubic, Microcraft, and then transitioning into planning for Microcraft, Schmid, and now the Air Force Base. My experience there gives me understanding, patience, and flexibility, and I think that's something that Tullahoma needs to move into the future. My goals for this city are how we can grow in a smart way, how to expand our businesses, and then also how to improve our city's infrastructure in a long-lasting way. Our city is growing, there's no doubt about that, but we do need to make sure that it isn't something that can snowball into something we aren't prepared for. We have 1,200 residences currently being planned to be built in Tullahoma, and I think that we need to make sure that our infrastructure can scale with that. Make sure that we have the schools, the garbage pickup, the police officers, the fire departments already in place so that we aren't left with an overwhelmed city. Business growth, we've lost, I think, close to a dozen manufacturing businesses now, and I think that's something that we could incentivize manufacturers to come back to Tullahoma. With that, it would bring in higher paying jobs, and with manufacturing, it doesn't impact any of the small locally owned businesses. In fact, we'd have more money coming into Tullahoma, which would help those businesses grow also. And then when it comes to the infrastructure, we need to have a plan on how we pay for that. And I think the main point there is that we pay for it with our growth. The more people we have living here means that there are more people paying property taxes. The more people spending money here means that there's more money coming from the sales taxes. It doesn't need to be an increase in our taxes. Thank you. It doesn't have to be an ultimatum of increasing taxes or cutting funding, because I don't think that we need to remove anything from our current city. And I'll pass with that. Thank you.
All right. We're going to try that. We're going to try the mic.
Test.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. Thanks, Glenn. All right, Mr. Kamek, it is your opportunity.
Hello, my name is Franklin Kamek. I've lived in Coffee County my entire life. I grew up on a farm about 2,000 acres over in Hillsborough. Graduated Coffee County High School in 2002. Went to Motlow and MTSU, graduated with a degree in business education. I lived in Manchester starting in 2006. Got my first teaching job teaching at the high school in Grundy County, doing business education, marketing, technical classes, CTE. I moved to Tullahoma in 2016 and was able to get a job at West Middle School in 2018. I've just finished up my 6th year of teaching there, 18 years of teaching overall. Teaching at the middle school was never part of my master plan. I went to school to be a high school teacher, and well, sometimes plans change. And I wound up at West, and my career has flourished in the 6 years I've been over there. I've been nominated 3 times for Tullahoma's Finest Teacher, winning it once in 2022. And this year I was honored by receiving Tullahoma City Schools Middle School Teacher of the Year. Running for a political office was also never part of my master plan. It wasn't something I ever aspired to do, something that I wasn't, really, again, just wasn't there. But just because it's not part of your master plan doesn't mean that you can't flourish and do well in a role. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to do here as an alderman for Tullahoma. 3 of my biggest things that I'm looking at is number 1, education. Just making sure that the school systems have what the school systems need to be able to continue educating our future generations, the ones that's coming after us. Number 2 is responsible growth. As it was stated earlier, we are growing. And while it doesn't seem like we are growing at a rate that we are, it seems like we're growing much faster. We are growing. And we need to make sure that the infrastructure is there to take care of this growth. Not only is it just having affordable housing and places for people to live, but it's will everything around it hold up to that? Will the roads be okay? Is wastewater management, is that set up in those areas properly? Can it have this influx coming into these areas? Fire and rescue. So making sure we have the entire infrastructure there is key. And number 3 is protecting small businesses. Bringing in manufacturing jobs doesn't hurt local business. While we have, new brand restaurants coming in, what about our local ones? How does those new places impact our small local community? So those are my 3 points, and I think that's my time. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Bush-Toma.
Yes, I'm Bush-Toma. I want to thank Lucky. What a neat name. I also appreciate...
You said that to me on the phone as well.
Yeah, I did. But I also appreciate the audience willing to come out and listen to your candidates. As you may know, the decisions made by your board mayor and alderman can affect you more than your state and federal legislators. I really want to thank the other candidates for willing to run. This may have a little irony to it, but it's great to still live in a country where a person can run for public office without the fear of being imprisoned or poisoned. Why am I running? I've lived here all my life. And I think it's important that people have choices. On a personal note, because I've lived here all my life, this community has given a lot to me. And I'd like to have this opportunity that I hope that I can give something back to the community. I thank you for this opportunity, and I pass it on. Oh, you got your mic. So.
All right, Mr. Santana.
Hello. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Santana. I'm a candidate for alderman. Real quick, thank you to 93.9 and Light 2 for sponsoring this event and giving us an opportunity to speak directly to the voters. Unlike all my fellow candidates here, I am not a lifelong Tullahoman, but I am a lifelong Tennessean. And I think that gives me a little bit of an edge because I've seen the good and the bad. I grew up in Jackson, Tennessee, another small town out in West Tennessee. started my schooling over there. Then I transferred over to MTSU, lived in Murfreesboro for a few years, and then I moved to Nashville to start my IT consulting career. And let me tell you, folks, living in Nashville during COVID will have you longing for the small town upbringing you came with more than anything else. So while I was up there, I met my wife, Larissa Cheney Santana, and she is a lifelong Tullahoman. Her family's been here for over 75 years, and so it was a no-brainer to move down here and put down some roots. And ultimately, that's why I'm running. I want to give back to this community, and now that I'm a recent husband and a new dad, my daughter just turned 1 year old this Monday. And that's the principal reason why I'm running. I want her to grow up in a nice, clean, safe, economically vibrant town. And with the current state of affairs, we're struggling to achieve those goals. We have a lot of opportunities here. And this next administration is going to have to make a lot of key decisions, right? Do we grow? Do we stagnate? Do we go with hyper-growth? Or do we find somewhere in the middle, which is what I would like? Again, I lived in Murfreesboro, I lived in Nashville, I watched the massive explosion in the population and kind of, the crazy carte blanche building of apartments and new businesses, et cetera, without scaling the infrastructure to cope. The roads there are terrible, folks. I go up there pretty often for business still, and every time I go up there, the highways get worse and worse.
1 minute.
All right, 1 minute. So, again, my platform is pretty simple. 3 points. Number 1, reputation repair. Number 2, sensible spending. Number 3, sensible growth. So appreciate your vote. Let's get into it.
All right, Sabrina McGee.
Hi, first I want to say thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to you all who came out tonight to listen to the candidates. Hello, as he stated, my name is Cernobia McGee, and I'm running for alderman. I don't have an agenda for any type of personal or self-gain. Born and raised here in Tullahoma, people know my character. They know I have a heart for the people and that I stand for what's right and will treat everyone the way that I want to be treated. When you are an elected official, you are voted in by citizens to make the best decisions that will benefit the citizens. We should listen to hear and not be so quick to listen to respond. I hope to bring some balance to the board, not only balance but diversity, by not only being a representative of the black community, but for those who feel like their voices are not heard or that their voices don't matter. I want to change the perception of what it takes to be a city official. I was a single parent, I was a recipient of Section 8, and I currently help raise my grandchildren. I can relate to the concerns and fears of those who feel unheard. There is an old saying that says, anything that doesn't grow eventually dies. I am for growth, but slow growth and planned growth due to the infrastructure of our city. I am for affordable housing. I also want to advocate to bring industry back. When I was a little girl, Tullahoma was booming with industries. Wilson's, they were here. Genesco was here. Tennessee Apparel, B.F. Goodrich, Worth Sporting Goods, and the Tannery. Getting retail and food establishments, that's good, but if there aren't any viable jobs, those places will eventually leave also. I think it is important for the city to maintain a healthy budget and not spend money frivolously. I plan to advocate for our city employees. For any company or business, your employees are your greatest assets. I don't want to be remembered as someone to advance their platform at the expense of the people, but rather be remembered as someone who advanced the people by way of the platform. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to we'll stay with you, Ms. McGee, with the first question, and it's a little similar to what we started off with the mayor candidates, but it's going to be kind of a two-part question. That way it'll cut down a little bit. First, what made you decide to run for alderman, and what sets you aside from the people that you are running against?
What made me decide to run for alderman is very simple. I did have the opportunity to serve in 2020 to 2022. I was appointed to fill an open seat. And I want to make a difference in our city. I missed working with the people that I've met a lot of very interesting people. that I would not have met otherwise by serving on the board of mayor and alderman. And so I just really missed it. And like I said, I want to make a difference and bring just a little bit of calmness and maturity to the board.
Okay. All right. We'll just kind of go this way. Mr. Santana.
All right. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm running primarily because of my daughter, and I want her to grow up in a pro-family, economically vibrant town. As for what makes me qualified to do that, I'm not a politician. I've never done anything like this before, so I do have a lot to learn. But I think my career in cybersecurity consulting has given me the skills to take it on. My clients are all over the country and all over the world. I build cybersecurity and compliance programs for everything from a pre-revenue startup to Fortune 500 companies and everything in between. I work with really complex organizations every day where I have to ingest vast amounts of information quickly, figure out the good, figure out the bad, fix it. And I got to do all that while managing a lot of different stakeholder relationships. Again, because I haven't lived here my whole life, I'm not privy to any long-standing family squabbles or competing business interests, etc. So I'm going to look at things through a very objective, clear lens. And again, I think that's going to give me an edge here to deliver for the people.
Mr. Toma.
I think the key thing that I've already expressed why I wanted to run is that I've lived here all my life, and this community has given a lot to me. This is an opportunity for me to give back. I also think the point is that, you talk about things, but until you walk in somebody's moccasins, you really don't have a right to say a whole lot. But being that, as you will notice, I'm the youngest person up here. I think the thing that
I think I'm older.
Oh, okay. We won't get into that. But the bottom line is that it's not so much what makes me different amongst us. It's what I think I can contribute best for the board, and that's experience. Live in this community all my life. I have 48 and a half years of being in businesses in this town, and I failed successfully. I have been a partner, an individual, and a principal. I know business concepts. I know what it takes to do a budget. I know what it takes to deal with employees. I know what it takes to do capital expenditures. All these things to me is what a board, a mayor, and an alderman really does. The difference is instead of having clients, our clients are the citizens.
30 seconds.
Okay, quick deal. I've served on several boards. The board that's given me the most experience was my association. When I was president, I was responsible for 400 independent insurance agencies across the state. That was not an overnight. It took 8 years to get to that process. I work with legislators, state and federal. So I think that experience and the experience I've had for living here and in my business experience, I hope will contribute if I'm elected to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Franklin?
So I've lived by something my entire life. If I'm going to complain about something and then I have the opportunity to fix it and I don't, I'm a hypocrite. And over the past, I'd say 8 to 10 months, I have criticized this board of aldermen and mayor quite heavily as I've seen several different things come across the table. So when election season opened up, I was like, well, I need to do this. So that is one of the big reasons of why I'm running, is because I think I can try to do better. What sets me apart is I'm already a civil servant. I mean, I've been educating children for the past 18 years. So I have seen what the previous generation, what they were like. I've seen what this generation is going to be like. And I would like to try to set things up to be, better for them, to make sure this is the Tullahoma we want them to be able to have. So as far as what sets me aside, I'm already in this realm in a way. So this is just kind of an extension of that.
All right. Matthew Burt.
What really got me driven to run is my son. I wanted for him to have the opportunity, if he chose to move back here when he's an adult also. I wanted Tullahoma to exist in another 10, 20, 50, if it can, 100 years. And I think what sets me apart, maybe not sets me apart, but one of the skills that I have is I'm a natural mediator. I've always had the skill to bring people together, not push them apart. A friend of mine, he's said many times to me that you need to approach everything with mutual understanding and respect. And I think that's something that I've really tried to live by, is to show everyone the respect that everyone deserves. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind when being in a leadership position. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Toma, we're going to start with you. We'll start in the middle this time. This has been brought up during the mayor's part and a little bit here, is housing. There's been a lot of comments made about housing and better opportunities and affordable housing, and all that has been brought up tonight. So what do you think the city can do to help in that area of housing? Because we have seen over the last just few years of how housing prices have gone way up, rent has gone way up. Is there a way that the city could get involved to be able to help in this area to make it, for people moving into this area to find affordable housing and be able to put down roots here and stay here and be a part of the community for a long time to come? Like yourself, you said you've been here all your life. That's a statement in itself.
I think the question here is define affordable housing. Affordable housing in Nashville, Tennessee is absolutely totally different than Tullahoma. So from a government standpoint, I think the key to us is determined by zoning and by codes what kind of housing that we actually want to have. I can't state in regards to, a lot of affordable housing depends on loans, income, which in my opinion is something that we need to look at. What do we want to recruit? So I think all those things play into it. So I can't really define exactly what you're asking. All I can say that I think we all are interested in giving opportunities for people to be able to buy a home if they so choose.
Okay, Mr. Campbell.
So kind of playing off of that just a little bit, affordable housing. I mean, the definition of that. Who's actually setting the prices for the housing?
We hear that statement a lot. Yes.
So, I mean, it comes down to that. Who is setting those prices? So we can build what we think is affordable, affordable homes, but when the contractors turn around and put the price at $250,000, is that really an affordable price for somebody coming right out of college? Educators, nurses, even our emergency service personnel, people can't afford that right out of the gate. So, when it comes to those housings, I mean, it's just, you have to look at the zones, you have to look at where they're being built and what kind of neighborhoods they're being matched with. Honestly, I don't have a perfect answer for that question. And it's something that I can look into and try to figure out.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Matthew Burt.
To preface this a little bit, I like math, so I like facts, I like figures. Tullahoma's median income for a family is $55,000 a year. If you go with what a bank recommends of 30% of your income goes towards your house, that means that you have $1,375 a month to put towards your house for the average family, that ends up being about a $190,000 house. There are 17 houses currently on Zillow that are under $200,000. And I imagine there's more than 17 people in that gap that are looking for houses. So I think that's where we need to try and approach developers who can build houses that are more affordable. And that could be through smaller lot sizes. There are people who enjoy having close neighbors, who like to have that close neighborhood feeling, and we need to have that opportunity for them to have that. But at the same time, we can also have the opportunity for other housing options, more apartment complexes. There's one planned on being built on 41A right now, and I think that's a great thing to be putting in. So I think that finding the right people to help develop Tullahoma to make the housing affordable is the best approach for that.
Zenobia?
I also think that it goes back to bringing industry here to our city, and as everyone has stated, we have to define what is affordable housing. What I can afford, someone else may not, but it just depends on the market, and it also depends on their salary. So I think we have to define what affordable housing is, and advocate for those contractors to come in and work with our city to build more affordable homes.
Okay. Mr. Santana?
Unfortunately, it's very difficult for a local government to drive down housing prices directly. I wish I could wave a magic wand and stop the Federal Reserve from printing trillions of dollars during the pandemic, but I can't do that. Now, what we can do is develop and maintain neighborhoods for all income groups, and we have to capitalize on the economic tailwinds coming our way, right? We have the base, we have the industrial site. Right now, the 100-plus open engineer positions at the base, those guys can't get houses. They got to go to Murfreesboro and commute over here. So we need to cater developments to the jobs coming in and the growth coming in. And, if we're going to scale up retail and new shops and stuff, we need some housing for them as well. So we have to scale as the economy scales, and we need to consider all the different income brackets.
Thank you. All right. The next question is something that I think really needs to be answered tonight, because we talk about positive things happening in our community, and that's all great, and keeping that going is all great. Mr. Kamek, we're going to start with you. What, in your thoughts about Tullahoma's future, might be our biggest threat to the success continuing in Tullahoma? I'll give you time to think. That's a little different question.
It is a little different. Biggest threats. Well, and I hate saying it like this, but just growth. Say growth is a good thing, but it can also be a negative. We grow too quickly, things fall apart. Something that I've looked at when I was teaching a sports entertainment marketing class is the Super Bowl, just using that for an example. Super Bowl, whenever that comes into whatever city, crime goes up, drugs go up, every form of criminal activity goes up in that city over the course of that week and the week after. So as far as threats to us, we're not hosting the Super Bowl or anything, but as we start growing, if we grow too quickly, those things come in and we may not be able to keep up with it or be able to eradicate it after it kind of settles in.
Okay. Mr. Byrd.
I agree with Franklin there. I think that growth is a possible threat, but I think it's also finding the happy middle. Zenobia said it earlier that if you don't grow, then you're dying, I believe. Stagnation, if you see a company that doesn't grow, they're not improving the company, then that company tends to fail. And I think that we might see that as a city if we refused to grow. But at the same time, if we explode in growth, we have more kids that can go to school, so we're having to put them in some of the portable classrooms permanently, not just as a temporary fix while we're building a new school. Then it's finding that happy medium where we can grow but not too fast, where we can thrive, and that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Mr. Toma.
Always been a positive thinker. The bottom line is I always try to take the negatives out so I can see the positives. Negative feelings to me may be dealing with the attitude of the community. I think we've seen, at least in my opinion, that the conduct of our board is one of the issues that has been brought up to me. And I think that if we, as leaders, help change that attitude, work together, understand differences are healthy, but work as a team, that to overcome those. The boards I've ever served on, that's how we addressed it. So I don't see a negative per se growth. Well, growth does come with negatives, but if we grow the right way, we can negate a lot of those negatives. So be positive. Let's look at the positive. Let's grow toward the positive. And I think the negatives will take care of themselves.
Ms. McGee.
I think one of the biggest threats would be, afraid of the unknown or afraid of change that, growth can cause. Just like Mr. Thomas said, I try to look at the positive because negativity just wastes a lot of energy. So one of the things that I do with my staff, whenever we have a one-on-one, I talk to them about the positives of different things, because when you talk about the positives first, the negative things don't seem as big, and we're able to work through them. So I think being able to agree to disagree, to work well together, to get along, and that's one thing that I have enjoyed with these candidates. We've had a couple of meet and greets where we've all been there, and I think that was such a powerful thing for the citizens to see, because we're already working together. Regardless of who gets elected in or not, we're already working together. We've already shared ideas of things that we would still like to do, even if we're not elected. So I think because some people can't operate outside of chaos, they become afraid of unity, but we're stronger together.
John.
We're going to have more joint meet and greets, by the way, so stay tuned for that. But the biggest issue that we're facing right now is not growing at all because of the reputation of the town, right? And so that gets to point number one, and kind of echoing the common theme here is reputation repair, right? You've had turnover at several key positions. You have the mudslinging on TV. You have these tit-for-tat lawsuits. All these things collectively really tarnish the reputation of our town, and people don't really realize the magnitude of the effect that has, right? When businesses see those headlines, they don't want to invest in this community. They don't want to come down here and bring, new businesses and new jobs. So, we have to come together. We need to bring civility, back to the board, and we need to let all of our neighbors and the partners at the base and the partners in the city know that Tullahoma is back open for business.
Mr. Santana, I'm going to stick with you on this next question. You see a lot of growth in Tullahoma. Retail has been just booming. All you have to do is just get out on the road and drive down the road and you see it. Are we lacking going out and recruiting more manufacturing jobs, those type of businesses that are going to hire? You talk about your business and being in cybersecurity, those type of businesses that would secure a good foundation for a family. So I'm asking you, what can Tullahoma do to better recruit stable jobs for people, not just, your $10 an hour jobs. We're looking at, jobs now that we need. We talked about, how much rent's going to cost, how much housing is going to cost. We need jobs that are going to pay more. So what do we do as a city to try to do better at that job?
Sure. So there's a couple different ways to look at this and tackle it. You have kind of the manufacturing jobs and having industry and building stuff here. I think the industrial site will eventually solve this, so I'd like to think we're covered there. Of course we want to have more manufacturing jobs, but it's just very difficult to be competitive as a manufacturing economy when we've outsourced everything overseas because it's cheaper. So, that from an industrial standpoint, I hope the mega site delivers. If not, right, we got to look at other opportunities. But the other piece to this is making our community very attractive for people that work from home like myself. I've lived in Tennessee my whole life. I didn't realize how much of a gem southern middle Tennessee is. In West Tennessee, where I'm from, it's flat. There's nothing but farms, restaurants, banks, and churches. Here, you have all of that, plus the lake and the waterfalls and all the beautiful nature around here. So we need to do a better job marketing ourselves, frankly, and doing so collectively as a region. We have to advertise all of our strengths and how beautiful our area is, and if you have that, you're going to have people that want to get the heck out of Nashville and move down here and spend their money here.
All right, Ms. McGee, we'll go back to you about this.
I think something that will help us in this area is, do more talking up trade jobs, welding, plumbing, carpentry, for the businesses that are already here. And when other manufacturing companies come in, be competitive with the pay. That will attract more people who would want to work at the different companies. So there's a number of things that are played into this with the manufacturing and the growth of our town.
Okay. Mr. Toma.
Is this thing working?
Oh, there we go.
Good. Glad to know it is. Manufacturing jobs. When I was on the Tullahoma Industrial Board, that was our key focus, is finding manufacturing. But there's a realization about Tullahoma that we all have to accept. We're landlocked. Most manufacturing jobs are going to require a lot more acreage than we have available. So I'm really excited about seeing manufacturing jobs go to places that are around our community, but yet those people come back here to work, to live. We need to identify ourselves with what we're good at. We're a high-tech corridor. We need to promote, as John said, that if there's any silver lining with COVID, it was the ability to work from home. If you talk to a lot of these young people that are wanting and are moving back here, a lot of them don't have jobs in Tullahoma. They are working for somebody in New York City or whatever. So we need to make sure our infrastructure supports that. But I think the selling point, I'm not worried about quantity. I'm concerned about quality. And if we set the goal that this is what we want, this is what we need to identify, I'd much rather have 10, 100 employee jobs than 1,000. And that's what you're primarily dealing with manufacturing.
Okay. Mr. Kamek.
So one of the things you got to look at too in my mind is, why did we lose some of the manufacturing to begin with? What caused some of these places to leave? And what can we do to reestablish ourselves to bring them back? We do have the mega site that is going in north of Manchester, which is going to bring in, I think I've heard, like 8,000 jobs. So that in itself is going to be a big thing. The base is going, they're getting into the hypersonics. So that's going to be bringing in jobs that a ways. We have Nissan over towards Winchester. So not to steal an answer that you've already given, but I mean, we are kind of surrounded by this industry. And with us not having access to the interstate, we don't have a way of moving a lot of these products or things that are manufactured back and forth. So there are a few places that we can, try to bring back. Microcraft right over here. I mean, how long have they been in this town? And that building is now, what are we using that building for? I mean, honestly, don't know. So we can try to reestablish ourselves in some of these manufacturing spots, bring them back, and I like the focus of the places around us.
All right. Matthew Burt.
Coming from a background in manufacturing, that's where one of my strengths is, and I've seen firsthand how a family can grow and thrive through having careers in the manufacturing industry. But to also add on to what Mr. Thoma said, we do have the opportunity for people to work from home, and Tullahoma has an incredible high-speed and relatively low-cost fiber optic internet network, and that's something that I think we could really market. It's something that we could, it's something that we could push for, is that we do have this ability to have affordable high-speed internet that not many other places can offer, and it might even lead to a new slogan of Tullahoma, the remote city.
Mr. Byrd, we're going to stick with you. This is going to be one of my final questions tonight. And again, thank y'all for being so genuine and be so kind to each other. That statement was made earlier, and I certainly appreciate that, but that leads to the question. We have seen problems that people have addressed to not only me, but others in the public, and also others in the media as well, about meetings that have really gotten to heated portions. We'll say it like that, and I think that I'm seeing respect up here tonight. What is your plan as an alderman to continue to show exactly what you've shown up here on this stage tonight? Because I think it's important to the people that are listening tonight and are here, not to see you up here, but to see you just down the road at City Hall continue to act the same way. So how do you control it if a person that is on the board comes at you and wants to attack you on a personal level or even on a professional level while you're sitting on the board? How do you react to that type of situation?
That's actually a difficult question to answer. You don't really know how your reaction is going to be until you've experienced it. I have in a private setting experienced that, someone attacking my morals, and my choice is not to respond. I don't think there's any reason to degrade myself to that level, because I think anyone, especially an elected official or someone in a leadership position, should be held to a higher standard than other people, because there are citizens who look up to them. There's people who want to have someone to respect, and I think that should be something that is shown all the time, not just in a meeting, but privately on social media also.
Ms. McGee, we're going to go to you next, since you have served on the board, and sometimes it has been very heated. Sometimes that can be a good thing because it's bringing out good discussions, but times that there have been, and you've seen it, where things get a little personal. Mm-hmm. And what would be your response in those type of situations?
One of the things that our parents taught us was never bring embarrassment to your home. And Tullahoma is home for me. I think it's very important as a city official to be mindful of how you carry yourself, whether you're seated at a meeting or even just out in Tullahoma. So we do live in a small town, and you're going to cross paths with everybody at some point. I think, like Matthew said, no response is a response. For me personally, I'm not confrontational, and I don't like foolishness. So I think when you carry yourself a certain way, it builds the trust and the confidence that the citizens have in you.
Okay. Mr. Santana?
Yeah, I think Tucker Carlson, love him or hate him, sets a really good example when it comes to handling this. So, he says that the only opinions he cares about are those of his immediate family and friends. I don't even think he has a TV in his house. He doesn't even use email. He just doesn't engage with the sea of hatred he deals with day in and day out. And so, if personal attacks come my way, I'm going to brush it off. You're not going to see me running my mouth on Facebook or anything like that. If we have a serious disagreement on something and it devolves into a personal attack, I'm going to brush it off, and I'll invite that person out to lunch or something or dinner, and we can talk over the issue with the whiskey and a cigar like we used to do it.
Mr. Toman?
I really like that. It's a matter, breaking bread is a good way to settle differences. And what's happened in the past is in the past as far as I'm concerned. We can learn from it. I think we've all experienced comments about the conduct of the board. And I think we need to live now and for the future. And conducting yourselves as an adult is mandatory for a position that some of us will hold. And I think integrity is vital. What we do not only reflects on us, but on our community. So, yes, that can happen, but maybe the best control of that is the people out there that are going to be voting. You need to know your candidates. A lot of you, get to know them personally. These are a bunch of good guys. We really have met, and I've really appreciated being included in the gatherings. And you're going to have differences. I've been on boards, but if you have respect, you will never have to worry about getting into personal arguments. That's my opinion.
Mr. Cammett, we'll finish up with you, and then we'll move on to closing statements.
So I have worked over my career with 11 to 18-year-olds. I have been called every name in the book already. So as far as trying to handle a meeting where things get heated and something gets said, I can brush that off and move on. I have only made one campaign promise this entire time, and I have promised to be civil and respectable if elected. You will not see me coming after any of these people. You will not see me going after people, in the community on Facebook. That's not who I am. And if we have a disagreement, it's going to happen. It's how you handle yourselves while it's happening. You don't always win. You don't always get everything you want. But it's how you come back from that and how you act in those defeats is what really defines a person. And I don't want to be that person that everybody's going, oh, look at him, look at him. So.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our closing statements for each candidate, and this is a chance for them to talk to you, the voters. And the most important thing is I know they're going to be wanting your vote. And, with early voting starting here very, very soon, and then the election on August the 1st. And before I say, with the closing statement, I do want to say that I've always had this attitude, and let me say this to the voters out there. I've always had this attitude. If you're going to gripe about things and you don't agree with things that's going on, but you don't vote, I've got a problem with that. You got to vote. It's your right. We have a great country that allows us to do that. So please get out and cast your ballot for the candidate of your choice. were candidates when it comes to the alderman race. But I highly encourage everyone to please get out and vote. Since we start with Mr. Byrd, we're going to reverse order and just go this way. We'll start with Ms. McGee with the closing statement.
My closing statement is simple. I care about the future of Tullahoma, the place where I was born and raised. Again, I want to advocate for industries and jobs to come to this area. I am a product of Tullahoma City School Systems, and I support our Tullahoma School Board. I have a heart for the citizens of Tullahoma. I've served on several boards, including the Board of Mayor and Alderman from 2020 to 2022. I've also served as a chaplain under the ordinance of the Tullahoma Police Department. I've served on the TAEDC board, and I've also served as a liaison of the Tullahoma Housing Authority. Again, I don't have an agenda for any type of self-gain or ulterior motives. I have no plan to advance my platform at the expense of the people. I just want to advance the people by way of the platform and to make a difference in the lives of the citizens here in Tullahoma.
John?
All right. Of my three kind of campaign points, right, we talked about reputation repair, talked about growth a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked. So I'm going to kind of quickly distill 2 and 3, sensible spending and sensible growth real quick. So, you know, with the horrible economic policies of the current regime in Washington, right, we have crazy inflation, gas is more expensive, groceries are more expensive, everything's more expensive as us, the consumers. That applies to the government as well, right? It's more expensive to gas up the lawnmowers, the fire trucks, the cop cars. It's more expensive to maintain the roads, etc. So, yes, the budget's growing, but our expenses are also growing. So we need to be really good stewards of our budget. Otherwise, we're going to run into a crisis where we either have to raise taxes or make cuts, and we can't do that. We have to organically grow our tax base through, you know, again, sales tax and property tax that leads into the growth. Sales tax is tough because, again, because of inflation, people are spending less money.
30 seconds.
So that leaves a property tax, and that leaves sensible growth. We have to, as we grow and we scale, the infrastructure has to scale accordingly. We can't be approving these massive developments without considering the infrastructure holistically. We need to grow in bite-sized chunks and consider the infrastructure all along the way. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Toma.
Again, I want to appreciate all the people up here. Good group. We work, I think any of us would work well together. I am running as a pure independent. I'm not involved in any coalition, special interest group, political parties. I don't have a personal agenda, and I'm financing my own campaign. And the reason for that is I want to have a voice for all the people. Tullahoma is my community. People are my people, from now in the future. And yes, you will have choices for aldermen, and I hope you will consider me. As Lucky said, still like your name, Lucky, it's cool. Get out and vote. Get out and vote, and get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gamek?
Now that my nerves have settled a little bit, let me go back and thank the Duck, thank Light Tube, Tullahoma City Schools, and the Tullahoma News for putting this together. Thank you to everybody who's here listening to us live and online and on your TVs. And thank you to the candidates that are up here. Y'all have been awesome, and y'all have done a great job tonight. So, teacher, I don't have kids, I have fur babies. Gamer, sports enthusiast, MC, trivia host, Swiftie. I am just like you. I am not really, you can call me a politician because I'm up here running for this position, but I'm just a citizen. I'm just, you know, just like every one of y'all. I live here, I work here, I spend my money here. I want this to be the best town that it can possibly be. So, you can get a hold of me through my Facebook, Franklin Kamak for Alderman. I've got my phone number on there. I have my personal email on there. By all means, reach out, talk to me. I want to see the city grow. I want to see it to grow in the right way, in a responsible way. I want our small businesses to continue to thrive and do what they do. And I want our schools to have the best that they can have. So again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And congratulations to all of y'all in advance.
Mr. Byrd?
I would like to thank you again for this opportunity. I would also like to challenge the citizens of Tullahoma to take a more direct role in who leads the city. I think we should set a new record. I think typically we have a 15 to 20% voter turnout for municipal elections. See if we can get that number higher.
I agree.
Like everyone else here, I'm not up here doing this for personal gain. It's for the community. If anyone does have any other questions, my Facebook page, Matthew Byrd for Tullahoma Alderman, you can message me directly. I think I actually have 2 people waiting on an answer since I've gotten here. And I do also look forward to the next meet and greet that we're going to host together. I hope all 5 of us can be there again. If not, then just come and see those of us who can be there.
30 seconds.
And if we don't plan, there's going to be chaos. So that's why we need to vote for people who can plan things. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me wrap up by saying this. You saw the candidates for mayor up here, and you've seen these 6 people up here. I'm just going to tell you, it's a tough choice. 3, 4, 5, sorry. I'm counting myself. Jeez. Trust me, it's been a long day. Maybe I'm running. But I do commend these candidates for putting their name out there and putting forth an effort to try to help Tullahoma. It's going to be a difficult test, coming forward of, what are we going to do? How are we going to vote? Because I think you heard a lot of good things tonight about Tullahoma, and I think that's very important as you go to the polls and trying to figure out, who am I going to vote for? Which candidates am I going to go for that's going to lead us and continue to make Tullahoma a good place to be. So I commend them for running, and I also commend them for how they have been so respectful to each other tonight. The mayor candidates did the same thing. That was something that I stressed from the very beginning of this, that I wanted this to be respectful. I did not want it to be something that got out of hand, whether it be from the candidates or the public, and the public has been amazing. And I commend all of y'all for doing that. This is important to our city, and it's important for the continued part of our city as we move forward. I'm almost 60 years old, and I've lived in Tullahoma twice, 3 times, I think. Live in Manchester currently, but Tullahoma is always going to be special to me because it's a part of this area. And I think the most important thing I can say once again is please get out and vote. Please do that, because I've always said you can't gripe if you don't vote. And so if you do that, then you've got a chance to go up and speak to these people. And I think even going back to the mayor candidates that were up here, they're open to talk to you. That's important. They're open to speak with you. They're not trying to shun you in any way. So please talk to them. If you have a question that is different than anything that I've asked tonight, please reach out to them and talk to them about your concerns. For 93.9 The Duck, On Target News, also the Tullahoma News, and of course LightTube Cable, who came on board and was able to video this tonight. We appreciate everyone and everybody being here and everyone listening or watching. We thank you as well as we wrap up tonight's ceremony. Thank you so much for attending and being a part of the Tullahoma Political Forum. Thank you, everyone.
Gosh, not another one of these COVID stories. But the family is on a cherry farm in Upper Michigan. It's a family-owned farm. There is an older daughter who wants to run the farm. There is a middle daughter who is in veterinary school, but of course, school has shut down, so she